Hello, in this video we're going to learn a little bit about conjunctions and conditionals. This is simpler than conjunctions and negations. Hooray. So let's look at some conjunctions and conditionals. So we got Q, which is a sentence letter. We got R, which is a sentence letter. We can put them together and we can build if Q then R. P is a sentence letter, so we can put them together and build a conjunction. And now we have a conjunction. And one of the conjuncts of this, the right conjunct, is a conditional. We also take P, which is a sentence letter, and Q, which is a sentence letter, and so we can put them together to build P and Q. And then we can take R, which is a sentence letter, and put all of that together to build if P and Q then R, and that's a conditional whose antecedent is a conjunction. And these do not say the same thing, and we're going to see why. So this one, the conjunction, it says P is true, right? It's a conjunction, and so it says both of my conjuncts are true. That's what it requires to be true. One of its conjuncts is P, and so it says P is true, because that's its left conjunct. This conditional does not say whether or not P is true, right? It just says if P and Q are true, then also R is true. Is P true? Is Q true? Is R true? Actually, who knows? I'm not saying anything about that, says that sentence. It says, I'm just saying if P and Q are both true, then also R is true. So it doesn't say whether or not P is true. Also, this one says, what's enough for R? Q, by itself. This doesn't say that. It says P and Q together, they're enough for R. Is Q enough for R? Maybe. I don't know. I definitely know that P and Q are enough for R, says that sentence. It doesn't say whether or not Q by itself is enough for R. So that conjunction says a lot more than the conditional. It says that P is true, which the conditional doesn't say at all, and it also says Q is enough for R, which the conditional doesn't say. It just says P and Q, they're enough for R. So the conjunction is strictly stronger than the conditional. It actually implies the conditional. It just says so much more. And here's an example of this in English. So let's say P will be I have feathers, Q is I have wings, and R is I'm a bird. Then the conjunction says I have feathers, and if I have wings, I'm a bird. And the conditional, on the other hand, says if I have wings and feathers, then I'm a bird. Well, the conjunction is definitely false when I say it, because I don't have feathers. And also you might think, well, maybe I could have wings and yet not be a bird. Maybe I could be a bat, right? So you might think the conditional is false, and it's definitely false that I have feathers. So the conjunction is definitely false, because one of its pieces, and maybe both of its pieces, are false. The conditional, on the other hand, well, it's arguable, but at least might be true. If I have wings and feathers, then I'm a bird. Well, it's not clear what else I could be besides a bird. Bats, for example, don't have feathers. Insects have wings, but they don't have feathers. I'm not sure what has wings and feathers but isn't a bird. So it's at least possible that that conditional is true. So we can see pretty clearly, I think, that these two sentences say different things. I have feathers, and if I have wings, then I'm a bird. I don't have feathers, probably, so that's false. Probably false to that. If I have wings, I'm a bird. So that's just definitely false. Whereas the conditional at least might be true. Because it might be that if I have wings and feathers, then I am a bird. That might be true. And so clearly they say different things. And we want to, in our derivations, be sensitive to that as well. When we see the conjunction, we want to apply simplification to get both the P and the if Q then R, whereas when we see the conditional, we're going to need to get either P and Q, so we can do modus ponens to get R, or we're going to need to get not R to do MT. So the conjunction, because it says so much more, we can apply our derivation. We have derivation rules that apply to it straight off. We don't need anything else. We can just apply simplification to it by itself twice to tell us two things. Whereas the conditional tells us nothing by itself. We got to get other stuff, either P and Q or not R, to make it tell us anything about its pieces. So there you go. There is how we can think about conjunctions and conditionals. So in the rest of this module, we're going to look at actually symbolizing now sentences that contain conjunctions and negations and conditionals, now that we've seen a little bit about how those logical sentences work in the logical language. And we'll also look at some derivation examples and talk more about that simplification rule that I mentioned.